Space girl, show me the stars. You know the galaxies of my heart. Girl, are you a Cancer? 'Cause you make me cry. Baby, can you move around the rhythm so we can get within just a roll and get us a rock and roll round? Down, down, body, body, coming with a super hottie, let's go. No, so hell no. Baby, can you move around the rhythm? 'Cause you know I'm living in the fast lane. Speed up, it ain't no game. Just turn up all the beams when I come upon the scene.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the final day of TCL Week 3. My name is Sirerin. I am joined here by my co-caster, Stanley Stake. Stanley, how we doing today?
Good, man. Really excited to see this series. We got two rosters that have some really good players. I think people thought these would be teams that would probably place higher or have a little bit more wins under their belt at this time. So I'm excited to see where this goes. They're fighting for their first win of the season here.
Yeah, we've got definitely a very important team, right? I think definitely there's a lot to say about momentum. And starting off 0-2 is definitely not the preferred outcome for, I think, a lot of these teams. But picking up your first win, getting off to a good start as we head into the later half of the season, especially as we look towards playoff, I think is a great start. So we've got the Pickled packages going up against Control, Alt, Delete. And I think definitely to your credit for what you said, I think definitely there were higher expectations for some of these players. Definitely a lot of well-known players, previous TCL champions. Maybe just still need to get some of that team cohesion together. Maybe still just need a little bit of more time to kind of, marinate, let them cook. But we'll see kind of maybe how these teams have reformulated their game plan heading into the third week from their first two.
Yeah, that's right. Started off with a Rebel band that's targeted at Fruge, I believe, in the jungle. I don't think anyone else on that team picks it. I remember in week 1 he picked that into us when he was jungling. He did really well on it. Team kind of fell apart a little bit after that, but he had a good early game. He got good CS leads, good ganks, had a couple kills. It's one of the strategies I want one of the teams here, Blood's team, to pick up is actually keep playing aggressive, because I think Caridian's team has struggled with positioning. That's their biggest flaw. They don't seem to know where to stand and how to play with their team comp. And then Blood's team has done poorly when it comes to over aggression. They just overreach, even though they have high skill cap players who play on a nice edge and usually can push the advantage. But I think that could take them over the edge in this series. I think they could really punish Caridian's team, who has had trouble figuring out where to position on the map and in team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of running out the bands here, we've got the Seraphine and Mordekaiser. They're on the blue side. And then we've got Jinx, J4, and Varus. So a little bit of pinching of control, as well as just taking away some of those easy or kind of powerful picks. We've seen a lot of J4 kind of as a common TCL pick. And then obviously, like you said, Fruge, very well known for some of his Rumble gameplay. But first pick, Gragas, potential flex. You can put that jungle, you can put that top. Honestly, you can put that in a lot of different lanes, but Gragas will be their first pick of the draft.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the bans against Blood's team here are relatively meta. They're all pretty strong picks right now in the current meta. And then going against Caridian's team, the bans seem to be more targeted toward specific players or how TCL tends to play out. I actually feel like this favors Blood and Tony here because I feel like the champ pools are pretty wide open, and man, those two could be coin flippy at times. But if you put them on their picks and you flip heads, they could totally run away with this game. We have a Sivir pickup though for Droid. It's a super comfort pick for him. I think this is a good pick, just because the positioning has been awkward for them in team fights. So he has a spell shield. He's going to have the R to help reposition his team, and he's just good at the pick. It's safe. And we have an Azir pickup. Interesting.
Yeah, Azir definitely a very high skill floor champion. I know it's definitely we've seen some fun plays with some Azir ults, and I think we've even seen Ceridian pull it out in previous TCL seasons. I think there's a few moments that I can recall, but definitely I think an interesting start to this draft. I think definitely these teams and what they're prioritizing will be interesting to see how they start to formulate these comps. I think a lot of teams in TCL can go for simplicity, right? Just go for some comp that has some kind of easy engage, easy dive, don't do too much, or just go for comfort, right? Caitlyn, obviously, definitely one of those champions that can be for a great comfort, definitely very, very strong in lane 2, depending on what they pair that with. But the Sirerin Hover might be something that you could see go support, but most likely I would expect that to go top lane, which then leaves that Gragas to potentially go jungle or support.
Yeah, this this draft is interesting. If I was Blood's team, I don't know if I would have grabbed Scion right away. I'll touch on this just a little bit because I'm a big Azir player. I've got high diamond with him quite a few times as one of my mains. I think he's in a really hard spot right now. They've really nerfed him with this little mini rework and adjustment they've done to him. Blind picking Azir feels really scary into someone like Blood. Like if I'm them, I'd be banning out things like Yone, which is what I picked into Critty when he blind picked Azir in week 1. I'd be banning out Zed, Kassadin. Azir is really, really weak early game, even weaker than he was prior. He scales well, relatively fine. But this is like super scary to blind pick into someone like Blood. The only lane they have so far that I think has total prio is bot lane, just with Sivir because she can push. That being said, Caitlyn does outrange her. So Ceridian's team is kind of falling into a weird situation where they might not have a ton of aggressive priority laning, which is going to free up the jungle. And I think that's for someone like Tony, I think that's something is really good and comfortable for him. He wants to be able to play aggressive and get up in your face. So I actually like the draft so far from Blood's team a little bit more. Besides picking Sion, I think he picked something aggressive into the Azir and save counterpick later, but it's still going well for them, I would say, just off the early phase here.
Yeah, and even late picking that Scion, right, or their top lane just gives the enemy more of a thought to say, where is this Gragas going, right? Could go top, could go different places, but definitely picking that Scion takes one out there. So that's why we see the Cho'Gath in response. But last phase of the bans coming through, you see the Lux and the Morgana taking away some of those picks from Bully. And then obviously now we're targeting Fruge, which I think definitely is one of the power players there on the pickle packages with the Viego and Graves bans.
Yeah, so little Phil 6 hover. That might be kind of cool. I don't think they'll do it, but Ceridian's team has good scaling. If they wanted to, they could give up a lot of portions of the map for a while if they think they're falling behind or if they don't feel like the map is in a good spot. Like I said, Azir still scales well. Cho'Gath's scaling with his armor nowadays is absolutely ridiculous. And most top laners who are playing tank versus tank consider Cho'Gath a counter into Sion. You can just interrupt a lot of Sion's abilities for the most part. So they have really good scaling and they can afford to sacrifice parts of the map if they're okay with just wave clearing over time. That being said, if you're caught out a lot, which they've tend to be doing, it sometimes just feels scary picking relatively weaker early game. Ooh, and another Melia pickup. We've not seen great success with it in TCLs so far, but with Caitlyn, it is a good pick because you just get that nice range extension. It can stuff a lot of the engage that can come through with his ult, cleansing all that CC. Let's see what they want as their last pick. This should be mid lane. Blood has free reign. I feel like he really waited for his pick. He needs to pick something that's super aggressive that can scale. And there's the Kassadin. Oh, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, Garen might be going through mid here. My assumption is you'll see.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we got a accidental pick here, so we're gonna have to unfortunately remake draft. But my assumption is, yeah, something happened. They late picked. Maybe Blood wasn't 100% sure what he wanted. Garen would have been interesting to see going into the Azir. But that one of the things that I was going to mention is that the way that the draft was going out for the pickle packages, there's a lot of AP there. You've got the Cho'Gath, the Azir, as well as the what's the jungler's name?
Oh, I already forget who he picked. Darn it.
Yeah, I'm terrible at champions' names, so I'm trying to pull them out. But that's a lot of AP damage. Of course, I got the Sivir to round that out. But into a Scion who can just build Anathemas, I would really want to see hopefully a little bit of a better mixed damage. Since if Blood's team can get ahead and get far, and they start to shut down the bot lane, they just stack MR, and then that's gonna be a little bit of a tough game to play. But I know the Emilio surprised me a little bit since there's not too much hard CC on the side of the pickled packages. You've got like a little bit there, of course, but obviously Emilio, very well known for all that cleanse. So a little bit surprising. I'm going to be curious to see how Bully ends up piloting that champion, though.
Yeah, it almost feels like going Caitlyn Emilio is just playing super safe. Like you really just want Caitlyn to have unlimited range and then almost no ability to capitalize on and engage on her. Like you said, the engage on Pickled Packages team it's not overwhelming. Like it's not too scary unless you get completely flanked and like pinched in the river or something. So I kind of agree. It is a little strange. I'm curious what the actual pick would be from Blood. Looked like they had a little bug in champion select, weren't able to pick the champion he wanted. I was saying it like if picking Azir that early into someone like Blood who's super aggressive and he's not afraid to play a bunch of different champions. Yasuo, Zed, Yone, Kassadin, those were bans I would have thrown out. And I know they hovered Kassadin, and I'm assuming that is probably the route Blood wanted
Yes,
to take.
it is. I think I saw in the chat that they
Oh, okay.
wanted to pick Kassadin, yeah.
That's scary. I mean, Azir just will not have the early like levels 1 through 9 pressure to put on him that he used to at least try to stop the scaling. Like this could totally be a free lane. And Azir Evelynn is super weak gank potential to Kassadin because Kassadin has so much innate magic damage reduction in his kit. You don't have a ton of CC coming from Evelynn and Azir, so man, levels 1 through 6, even beyond that for the most part, like are super, super, super safe for this Kassadin. I think he totally could just run away with this game. I think it's a good pick. That being said, they don't have great wave clear, so for some reason, if they scuff the early game, managing side lanes and then potential pushed lanes to match objectives could get bad if the early game goes like in an unfavored way.
Is that Azir supports? The Tristana pick totally threw me off because it's like, oh, Tristana, like I like that because you got a little bit more, damage coming through, but it's looking like it's an Azir support on Swiss Army, and I have no clue how Azir support goes because looks like they're sticking with it right now.
I guess this is going with me with my Azir's experience. If you were doing this like 4 or 5 patches ago, it wouldn't be bad because Azir had really good harass with his Q, where you just throw the soldier forward. It did a ton of damage. It was on a low cooldown, and the mana cost wasn't too high. And that's where most of Azir's damage in lane came from. That's what made him get through the early game. But now that they've upped the mana cost and lowered the damage and the range on Q, I just feel like you're playing like a champion that's at like 75% strength that what it would have been. But people would used to pick it for poke or things into like Heimer if you're trying to match poke and ranged things, which is what Caitlyn and Emilio are. So the idea works. I am not convinced it's going to work the way they think. I feel like I'm flaming them a little bit. I'm not meaning to sound like that, but I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the pick.
Yeah, I would definitely say I have a little bit of hesitation for kind of how this draft went out, especially considering there's really not any engage. I mean, if you want to say like, Sivir ult and they can just run at them, but the big thing is you got Sion who can, use his ult, and you got a lot of CC, the Gragas ult coming through, and then Casting, diving onto your backline. It seems this is a very like, feast or famine kind of comp coming out for the pickle packages where either they do really, really well, and Cho'Gath is just not going to be killed. And I mean, that's kind of their entire front line.
Mhm.
And, hopefully you see the Evelynn kind of going for these, behind the flanks, and, maybe Azir going for the big ult coming through. But I just think with this comment, it seems like they're just going to get slowly poked out. And, Tristana and Sivir can't really walk up that much, and Cho'Gath is just going to slowly kind of lose their HP. Amelia just keeps healing. I don't know. I'm a little bit hesitant. I would agree with you, and I would say I'm favoring the comp of Control Alt Delete at this point.
I totally agree. The only positive thing I think I see out of this now that we see the full 5 versus 5 and what it looks like from draft is the matchup for mid lane swings into their favor now. Tristana is one of the biggest counters to Kassadin in the mid lane. If she takes Hail of Blades or press the attack, it is way harder for Kassadin now to scale. So now that they got the Azir out of the mid lane, I don't think Blood looks as scary. Tristana can just get away from so many gank setups. The only CC they have is Gragas, and that at best you're going to have to use body slam flash to get onto her if you really want to stop her from getting away. So the lane gets better for Blood. But going back to like the bot lane, I just don't think the harass is going to be there like they think it will be. And I think Control is one of the best AD carries, in my opinion. I think he's looked probably the best, honestly. I might get some flame for that, even because he's 0-2. But he's looked so good. I just feel like this lane won't be able to pressure him the way they think. And the way Control's playing is too good just to let him scale for free.
Yeah, and hey, maybe the Pickled packagers know something we don't, right? Maybe they've been, pricing this, secret tech of Azir support. But I think definitely I will definitely put a big focus here onto the Evelynn, onto Frugier. Evelynn coming through to kind of just, repeat gank mid, put Blood behind. Because obviously, there is going to be a clock on the side of Control Alt Delete, right? Blood gets level 16. That game starts to look a little different when you start to kind of, one-shotting if you can get onto these Sivir, get onto the Tristana, and even a little bit of the Zir, right? Blood can really just blow up any of those players. And, if he gets pushed, really far behind, and maybe the bot lane of Control and Reform Bully don't do super well into what Jordan Swiss have, this game could get out of hand. And like I said, I think it could be very much feast or famine, but I am going to be very excited to see what does end up happening. I believe we should be loading into the game here shortly.
One thing too that Pickled Packages has going for them is their ability to push out waves a lot faster, and they have a lot better wave clear than Control Alt Delete does. Control Alt Delete also doesn't have great siege unless they commit to a dive, which is totally in the wheelhouse for a lot of these players. They totally could do it, but besides Caitlyn, it feels bad to group and siege down towers. And then also it feels awkward to push out waves effectively compared to the Pickled package. Also, the Pickled package has double AD carry, and if they both go Kraken Slayer, Tony and J-Bob are going to feel way less tanky than they would normally. Double Kraken Slayer comps are really, really scary for tanks to deal with, even though tanks usually feel kind of OP. I'm curious where their itemization will go. I hope that's what they lean to, because they really could shred through these tanks if they get ahead early or if they are able to scale to the late game.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely like the damage we could obviously see, especially even Azir getting to late game, right? Late game Azir does a lot of damage, and pair that with the double marksman, they can definitely just easily chunk through the Scion, and if they get a nice little pick, they definitely can just start to run through the enemy team. But there's just one good engage that the team of Control Alt Delete needs, and then you've got a totally different game, right? They pick off one of the AD carries, pick off one of the damage dealers, and then that 4v5 is just incredibly difficult to play. So this game definitely I think is going to come down to a little bit of execution as well as probably just team cohesion, right? Which team maybe has pulled themselves back together, gotten a little bit more of the experience on what they need to do, especially when you're throwing in some of these unique picks, pocket picks. And yeah, I'll be excited to kind of see how we start to see Frugier play through the jungle, as well as I think definitely Blood's going to be a big one to watch too, to see if he can live out to get to the mid game and then start to do big Kassadin.
Yeah, for sure. I hope Tony's smart enough, he'll know this, but I really hope he puts a lot of focus on the mid lane and gives Blood the opportunity to scale. Like I said, Crithian has the chance to really make this lane a very unpleasant one for Kassadin. It really is a tricky lane for him to to pilot, especially if the Tristana's good. But at worst, for Tristana, it's a slightly above even lane, like in her worst matchup, like in the worst scenario. So hopefully Tony puts some attention around him so Blood can catch waves, not die in a 1v1, get some XP, scale up. Apparently, looking at Swiss Army Cabinet's OPGG, he actually has been playing quite a bit of Azir support, which is interesting. He's put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 or 7 games on it in the last day or two. So I hope this guy knows what he's doing. Like, I hope he proves me wrong, so that way I can pick it up in solo queue. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, the vision's there, right? You go for the 5-man Shrima shuffle. Could be a very big one in the Emperor's Divide. So, I mean, if he's on it, if they've got those clean engages, then they've definitely got the opportunity to take this game. But I think that's the hardest part about that is just how much that it has to be on point, right? I think the simplicity of the composition that the team of Control Delete put together, just like a regular team fight comp, really. You've got the Gragas and you get the Sign on the front line. You got some, kind of normal engages, not the amazing engage, but I think if the engage ever goes wrong, or some of these abilities just don't hit for the pickup packages, they've got nothing, right? They can just easily get run down. You have the Silent Ult just come run at them. You've got the Gragas ult just to zone some of those players, and then Blood just dives on them, and then you got the consistent damage there from the Caitlyn. So they gotta be on point, and I'm not sure how much they will be. But hey, if they want to pull out some of these unique picks, I think they've definitely got to have some kind of confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that could be good for Pickled Package is they have good early bot prio for the most part with Sivir. Sivir can opt into pushing the wave crazy fast, and even though Azir can't poke and harass champions, he can at least put soldiers down to auto-attack the minions and push out the waves. Caridian should always have mid lane prio, so they should always have first roam to set up for dragons. If for some reason there's a weird jungle altercation in the river, or in one of the sides of the bot side jungle, they should always be able to respond quicker than Control Alt Delete to that, which is good for them. It sets them up in a good early game scenario that can let them contest the aggression that Control Alt Delete probably would put out, but it also gives them a chance to get ahead with a good scaling comp with Double Marksman.
Yeah, definitely. And we will apologize for the delay. I think there's a little bit of a spectator bug that is making the game go a little bit slowly. So hopefully we should be getting to the game very, very shortly. So
I hope we jump into live and there's like 5 kills on Kassadin somehow right at the beginning.
Yeah,
that would be
I think we'll start from the very beginning of the game.
Gotcha.
We'll watch it through. Might just have to force them to do a little bit. But I know the game is going on, so we will jump in, I guess, wherever we have our wonderful producer decide. But yeah, I mean, even we can look to the rest of the TCL and kind of how these games are going. When we talk about just the rest of the league, right? As we look towards playoffs, right? Week 3 ending very, very shortly. We're gonna have week 6 here very, very soon, and we're going to need to see how some of these teams can start to level up, right? And prepping for that, it's gonna be great. As I think we finally have our fix coming. So sorry for that. But as we are hopping in here, Sandy, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. Let's just see where the early game has taken us. Even farm, for the most part, except for mid lane, which is to be expected. Kassadin's down about 10 CS, which, in terms of how Kassadin scales, it's completely acceptable in this matchup for how bad it is. Bot lane looks pretty even. Azir, no surprise, is completely out of mana so far. Just his Q just takes so much mana now to cast. Tony playing a little bit more forward in the jungle here, taking away some camps, which is again to be expected. Evelyn really is not going to be able to pressure Gragas too much early into level 6. Top lane is that good old TCL tank versus tank slapfest.
Yeah, and right now, there's just a little bit of an advantage there on the red side with the team of Caridian. You see there's just a slight gold lead, but really that's just built up here in the mid lane, with obviously Kassadin not having as much prio as the Tristana. But really good job for some of these junglers to try to look for those, small advantages, try to use these leads. As we see Tony returning back to his side, just kind of holding the wave here until Blood can TP back. But, nothing's really happening too much. Then we're going to wait to see some of these, level 6s come in, maybe for the ultimates to be used, and maybe see some of these bigger gank plays. But Frujay is walking top. Maybe he's looking for a little bit of a kill here there onto Jazz. As music is a little bit far forward, we do see the gank coming through. Charm does land with the Sion, but he is pretty tanky. Still has the flash to use. J-Bob will just be trying to walk it out. Use flash forwards there from Jazz. He does get level 6. Unfortunately, cannot get the ultimate off in time. There's a good flash back there from J-Bob. We'll just be sitting under tower, but might have to walk backwards just to make sure he doesn't get dove.
Yeah, good response here from Tony too. Seeing jungler up the top side, seeing that Evelyn is only level 5. He doesn't feel any threat now, so they can just go down and get a quick early Mountain Dragon. Good flash from J-Bob. I actually thought that flash from music was just a little weird, but more damage came through than I expected. There actually was a kill angle there, so I think that's fine trading your flashes with the top laner there, especially because Cho'Gath, again, is considered kind of a Sion counter pick. It's pretty soft, but it's okay dropping your flash in this situation because Cho'Gath's going to feel so safe because he can interrupt so many of those abilities. Blood, again, down quite a bit CS in the mid lane, in terms of 58 to 46, but it's not that much for how unfavorable the matchup is. He goes an early Seeker's Arm Guard, gets some early armor stacking so the Tristana can't ult in him. I think it's a good idea. I totally would back a little early though and grab a quick tier if I were him. Basically, as long as your wave is in a good spot, I would back right away to grab that so you can start getting that stacking. Because going early Seekers makes it safer in the lane, but it really slows down your scaling because you don't have the mana to get to the tier, and then your Roa is super delayed, so hopefully he can get to that 400 gold back and get that item.
Yeah, not too bad so far, though, just down 10 CS, but we just saw Frujay there have a little bit of invade, stole the Grump right there, as J-Bob did have to TP back, and then Jazz had to reset, TP as well, so no sums top lane. We'll have to see if there is a re-gank on either side, but definitely good for J-Bob to be able to escape there and not give away that first blood, since we now see the CS advantage coming through with the plates that they just got from the mid lane and top lane towers. As Tony is here in the bot lane, will throw out the ultimate and does land onto Swiss. Very good job with Droid for ultimate the spell shield, but Tony diving in there onto Swiss, he will be burning down. First blood will be going over to Tony. That is a great roam gank.
Ooh, I feel like they saw Tony coming in with that ward right in between control alt little gank on the top lane here. I'll let you take over here.
Yeah, J-Bob can't do very, very much there. No sums, and Frujay just waits there for the wave to be pushed in. Great job for him. Does not, unfortunately, get the ultimate stack, as Frujay will get that kill, but definitely a great response there from Team Caridian.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing the gank go top lane. Most people don't like ganking and diving top lane tanks. They just feel like, oh, they have too much health, they have too much resistances. It's just not worth diving here. But I like the idea. Oh, Blood, I think he's going to die here.
Caridian might have to use his flash. Actually, he already used his flash. He's going to have to wait till a W comes back up, but Blood does, fortunately, get in time. So Caridian almost gets that solo kill. It would have been very, very good for him. But we'll force Blood back as Frujay does pick up the Rift Herald. Might even walk that down mid for Caridian, but this game is getting, a little bit back and forth. We're seeing a little bit of good plays being made.
Yeah, that Seeker's Arm Guard buy first item paid dividends there for Blood. If he didn't have that, he definitely would not have had the resistance to take that onslaught there, because he's basically just one auto attack away from death. As Tony and Bully stepping a little far in this river. Here's that Prio I was talking about.
Yeah, ultimate comes through just to throw Tony away. He's going to be able to get the little body slam away, but Frujay is just close enough. We'll be able to slay him. I believe Reform Bully might have had to use his flash to get away as well after the ultimate came out from the Azir. So nice little collapse happening there for the, I believe it's Pickle packages. I might be wrong on that, but yeah. Great trading back here. As Control and Reform Bully, though, are waiting for them to come back bot. See a lot of damage that are coming in from Swiss. We'll just be able to get over the wall. Droid will be able to walk back as they will be able to try to take this. Actually, no, Droid does get the nice little Q there, so try to steal away. The Skull Crab does not get it, so just trading some damage there at the very end.
Yeah, good job from Droid securing that. Nice little cheeky steal there. That I was talking about this before the game started, but they will have Pickled package will have total lane prio to roam down to the spot side of the map. So if an altercation happens in river, they theoretically should always be able to respond first, because if they choose to, they can push the wave faster, which is exactly what happened there. Blood got chunked, he lost wave control, had to go back. Bot lane had first roam over the Caitlyn Milio, so then they got collapsed on. Little gank up top, no flash on Cho'Gath.
Yeah, J-Bob coming in with the huge skirt, as Tony does have that great ultimate there. Jazz does not have flash, so there should be a kill coming through very, very slowly. Great little rupture there. Actually, might keep Jazz alive, so what could have been an easy kill there, Jazz does outplay it, but he is still under tower. We do have a little bit of a dive coming through. Blood is here, as Jazz can really not do that much. Flash is still not up. Needs a little bit more time, but nice little ultimate there for Blood to pick it up. So great little collapse coming through. But Caridian is winging the wings, just dives there onto Tony. We'll be able to throw down the W stack. Does not get enough damage, but we'll just dive into it. Cannot get the finish, though, as another bot lane fight comes through. Control very, very low. Blood actually does end up getting Caridian there on the top lane, as Control and Reform Bully will just be backing up. Fruje could only get damage down. Actually, no sums blown here on the bot lane, so Altus come out, tries to do some damage. Great spell shield there from Droid, so kind of going back blow for blow, but this time finally in the favor of CAD.
Yeah, I hate that top lane play. That's so hard for Caridian to actually benefit out of that, because I think at best you go 1-for-1 there. I think it's better for him just to sit mid wave. I don't know what secondary rune page he has. A lot of Tristana will go the green tree and then take Demolish, because you can push down waves so fast and you can chunk out turrets with your bomb. I think he just stays there, except that Cho'Gath is unfortunately going to go down to the Kassadin. And I think he just tried to chunk that tower just to try to break open the map a little early. I get what he was trying to do. Try to follow up in the roam. My man Droid's got full sums. He's got his ult going. Oh, he flashes actually. Okay. He was afraid of that gank.
Yeah, I mean, Blood's definitely a little bit strong now. You know, he's got the 2 kills to his name. So Joy maybe just didn't want to take the risk. He did have heal, though, so maybe he could have just healed himself out. Caridian will be getting some plates back in response. But yeah, like you said, I think that Caridian could have just been okay not going in with that final W. You know, tried to get the kill there onto Tony. Didn't work out. But in a 3v1, when you're playing a low-level Tristana, not much that you need to do. But fight breaking out here on this second Drake, as we do have Swiss Army Cannon taking a lot of damage there from Tony. Fruje is here now, but trying to get there onto Reform Bully and blow up before time. Blood gets that first kill coming through. Fruje trying his best, but will be going down there. Jordan might have picked up that kill as a shutdown actually comes through for Blood, as now the team of the Pickled packages are going to be pushing this team back. Droid low HP, does have heal, will burn that, but unfortunately does not give him enough, as Caridian now doing what he can. Not enough damage, though, as the ultimate is still down from that top lane fight. Control, though, great job there, taking them down. That is a 4-for-1 going in the favor of Control to lead.
Yeah, Droid not having flash just from that little early little rundown from the bot lane kind of came back to bite him here. What an absolute disastrous start. It was funny when our stream wasn't working earlier. I said it was going to be funny if we jump into spectating and Katzen has 5 kills. Funny enough, he actually has 5 kills. It's just a completely random number I threw out here. But Blood, even though he got absolutely harassed in the early game, almost died in a 1v1, he's able to make roams happen, and he's able to get kills, and he's getting all of his scaling items, and he's even closed the CS gap. It's so unfortunate when you're in such a good spot as the counter pick into a Kassadin and things are going pretty well for you in the mid lane, and then all of a sudden Kassadin gets a good lucky kill somewhere, he gets a good roam off, and then maybe you make 1 or 2 misplays, and then all of a sudden the Kassadin is just way ahead of you. This feels so bad to be the Tristana now. Her effectiveness and why you picked Tristana mid is like seriously weakened. And just to add insult to injury, their prio that they should have on this bot side of the map is now gone because they've given up so many kills, and now there's a double dragon stacking happening here. At least they can get bot turret. Actually, they actually siege that down pretty quick, so good by them for able to get that down pretty quick there. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Jazz will flash away there from that Q as a silent ult does come in. No flash, and Tony there. This should be a guaranteed kill. Hopefully given over to Tony, will be given over. So a nice little pickup there, as we did see the Rift Herald popped a little bit earlier in the game there on the bot side, so took down a lot of plates there. But even right now in this game, right, we've got 3 of the mythic items coming out for the side of Control Alt Delete, as we do have another flash there from Reform Bully, had to get out of his own jungle. As, you know, Bloodbath and Beyond is very, very strong right now, right? This Tristana just doesn't have the damage. Unfortunately, doesn't maybe look super comfortable. Like what he wants to do, you know, had that one early game opportunity, which could have, you know, had this game swing totally differently, but gonna have to play a lot more reserve now, down a level. Blood is just gonna be playing super confident with his leveled up ultimate, as now we do have the rotate. Bot lane coming up through mid, but this isn't a horrible spot for the side of the Pickled packages. They're only down by about 1k, so definitely something that they can come back with, but you're kind of seeing a little bit of that compositional difference, right? A lot easier to execute for the side of CAD, as this is a little bit more difficult for them, as there looks like there's going to be a dive here onto Blood. We do have that charm coming through. Blood will be able to get the ultimate out. Does not have any other summoner, so we do have Swiss. Ooh, unfortunately, does not get the timing, just a little bit short. Blood will be walking out of that one alive. Would have been a great bounty to pick up, but at least bot side, we do have control and Reform Bully picking up that tower, so they will trade it back. Top lane also went down, I believe, after they had that dive onto Music. So we do have the towers a little bit in the favor here of Control Alt Delete, but it's good to see them start turning back, as this gold lead now is staying pretty consistent at that 1k range.
Yeah. One thing too I like to hit on too with gold leads is gold leads mean different things. Like 1k based on one team's comp can mean a different thing with a 1k gold lead for another comp. So even though it's only a 1k gold lead and there is always room for throws and misplays and fantastic team fights or picks to make things happen, the fact that it's a 1k gold lead with a Kassadin where most of that gold is, a super scaly top that can at least tank up a lot of the damage, and then where you have a bot lane that looks so hard to get on, I feel like that 1k gold lead could really start feeling way more oppressive than 1k as you start moving into like the 20-25 minute mark of the game. But like I said, there's always room for fantastic play to counteract that. But then this game I feel like is in Blood's hands to win or lose, just based off the opportunities he saw and created for himself to put themselves in an advantageous situation. I want to give props to Tony too. This guy was my jungler last year, and he's always been a fantastic early game jungler. He looks really comfortable on the Gragas and in this early game. I hope he can continue it. His high risk, high reward plays sometimes backfire, but when he flips and plays everything right, it is really oppressive to go against him. So I'm hoping he can keep up this pressure here. He's had a really good early game so far.
Yeah, and right now we do see the skirmish happening through mid. Did get the proc there on the tower, so a lot of damage coming through J-Bob. But as we saw just a little while ago, we did have our producer flip to the gold, and we saw that basically all of their lead is on Blood, as that's a lot of damage coming through onto Joy. Just barely lives, ultimate coming through. Great block there by Swiss, but Rift Shield is summoned. This tower is going down, and the side of the Pickled package is going to have to run away, as now we do have the Silent coming through. Does unfortunately go wide. Blood jumping in. Great ultimate there in response from Swiss Army Encampment. Engage there from Fruge. Swiss Army Encampment will be able to pick up J-Bob, as now we do have the damage coming through. Great Q over the wall, but Blood is going in for Blood. Music does take down one, as J-Bob does trade him back. Blood actually just get picked up by Droid. That's a huge shutdown. And the Pickled packages, they're in the lead now.
Yeah, it's so funny. I feel like anytime I start talking about good advantages, I always end up throwing it back to the other team because they overextend. They get a dragon out of this, which is still good. It puts them on soul point for a Chemtech soul, which feels good from when you're ahead and you have a comp that can really pop off late game. Like there's good, but it is a big shutdown going over the side of the Pickled packages. It kind of was just one of those things. Some of these players, they play on such a knife's edge, and sometimes that edge is just tilted just a little too far, and maybe you just had a little reservation and it goes 100% in your way. They gave over some kills that weren't super necessary. That being said, now the gold technically is dead even. It's not like the game is completely out of their hands because they still have a 6-1 Kassadin, and they are on soul point. But that being said, you continually make those plays, you just lessen your chances of having a clean game that's easy to close out.
Yeah, and I think for that play, right, there was a hard force there from Control Alt Delete. They had the Silent going through. Blood went so deep. They really wanted to kill Jordan, some of these low HP members, but 3 members now trying to get Blood in response. No bounty this time, but this would still be a great pickup. We do have the Charm coming through. We'll have used the alt charge 1. Charm does come through. Damage is coming through, but Blood is still doing fine. Does have the great stopwatch to be able to get away from Fuge's ult, but Caridian will be able to, I think, eventually get the kill. Does flash forward. Needs a W coming through. Unfortunately, Blood does get away. Very, very well played from him, but they will at least get the tower in response for their troubles.
Yep, do get a tower, but I feel like they're going to be kicking themselves a little bit there when you see someone so low that Zanya's right in front of you. It feels so bad when they manage to get away when it feels like it should be such an easy kill. Ooh, Oh my gosh, almost hit onto control there. That would have been a huge rupture from music there. Oh my gosh, you
Ooh,
get the
nice
flash.
blown flash too. Yeah, I mean, if Jazz got that, if Music got that rupture, he probably does go for the flash ult. Blood does TP back, so they will be able to get some more pressure on this this mid lane wave. But I think there's a great job of the siege coming through from the side of Control Delete. As now Tony getting run down into the jungle. Caridian gonna have the damage coming through. As now J-Bob ults in. Caridian will take him down. Q does not land in time as the Swiss Army Cabinet ultimate comes out. Music will just be frontlining. Keeping it alive there by the Emilio, but this scrimmage is now trying to go through. J-Bob trying to do the damage is now. This fight is just going front to back very, very slow. We have the damage coming in from Control. He's doing pretty well. Jazz Music is staying healthy, but J-Bob also just as much so. So there's just going to be a little bit of a back and forth. Health bars being traded as we're trying to get some Baron vision. Maybe have a little bit of a bait going through, but right now Team Caridian just kind of weighing them out, seeing what's going to happen is now we will be waiting for that one respawn coming through very, very close there onto Tony. We'll be up now, but J-Bob's staying around, trying to get the vision down, and there's a lot of damage on this Baron. They're going to get it if there's nothing coming back, but Control, trying to get something done. They will be able to stall them out, as Tony will be running back here in time. Music is very, very low. Blood just gets a little bit of damage coming through. Ultimate just to get some damage back, as I think the poke is good enough. They will be able to push back Control, Alt, Delete, the Pickle packages, as now they will be the ones on retreat, going to their top side. Nice little rupture there to stop J-Bob, but this is a great Baron stall that could actually go right back now to them to start. So now it's time for Control Delete to start the Baron dance, as we have the Pickle packages now having to go through their own jungle. A very nice long extended fight. These are very, very close. Fruge there going run into J-Bob, try to get some damage back, but actually Fruge's got to be careful. Does have to ultimate himself away, but Blood is going to keep going for this kill. If they can get the jungler down, this should be a free Baron for them, but Fruge is just going to do his best to run away, hides into the jungle, gets a nice little charm there. Ooh, fancy feet, but Blood just too strong, as now the red side going to have to get something back. Tony and some of his members are a little bit low HP. Caridian's looking for the angle. Ultimate comes through. Swiss is so low. J-Bob's going for the kill, but Caridian, great pickup there onto Control. J-Bob now going down. Caridian's got the damage. He has the items. Actually, great flash from J-Bob to keep himself alive, and he has teleport. He can come back into this fight, and after all of this being said, only 2 go down. No Baron. Actually, Caridian is still not done. Reform Bully, low HP, gets taken down. Tony is actually a 2-level disadvantage, so Caridian could go in for some more. But now, actually, we have the Pickle packages finally going on the Baron. After all of that, great bounty there picked up by Caridian. He's got himself back into the game after a little bit of a slow start. And there should be Baron for the Pickle packages.
Man, take a breather, my friend. You just had to talk for so long because there's so much back and forth and there's so much give and take with who's winning that scenario. It's so weird. I feel like Pickled Packages was in such a dominating spot for a long time. They win a front to back. They have double 80 carries with double Kraken Slayer. So after Tony got picked initially to start that whole thing with that Baron dance, I think they could have played that scenario way more aggressive. They always win that front to back. If Cassidy tries to rift walk right past them, because he wasn't on a flank, he was literally standing in a 5v5 ARAM type scenario, Music could always just silence him once Cassidy rift walks in, and then I feel like Cassidy's just going to get completely bursted down. And then he just had so much back and forth with people getting kind of caught out of position, one team wanting to start Baron, one team not. Kind of scratched the Baron. Good job, Pickled Package, to pick that up. We're at a pretty important soul point here, because it looks like, based on how the map is set up, Baron's not going to get anyone any gold unless there's a massive team fight flop here and they can just push down towers, which, good call from Caridian. They're doing, I think they're just going to sack this dragon at this point. They have no vision to step up. I think you just commit to the push. Oh no!
Wow, what a really great Q there from J-Bob. Does a lot of damage. Fruge already half HP, but they're on the dragon. They're going to get this dragon for free. Not even any contest. That is a free dragon soul going over to the side of the Pickle packages. Shut down there coming through.
Oh,
J-Bob picks up the big kill onto Caridian. Control doing some damage, ultimate there from Swiss Army Cabinet, but Tony flashing over. Fruge now trying to go for the big play. Can only do so much damage as Music is trying to get anything back in response, but the damage is just too much there. Double kill for Bloodbath and beyond, as the rest of the team just has to run away, licking their wounds, as
He has
now
blue
this
buff.
game...
He can run him.
Yeah, blue buff coming through. Swiss Army Cabinet should be able to dive over the wall just in time. We'll be able to get there and get away, but Blood flashing over gets that kill there onto Swiss Army Cabinet. That is a 4-for-0 Dragon Soul, and lead now back in the hands of Control Alt Delete.
It is so hard to pick apart this game and who's actually winning and who's losing. Obviously, at this point, it feels like Control Alt Delete is winning. I'm sure I just jinxed something and they're going to totally flop something and the gold's going to swing back. They had no position on the dragon. The Baron took too long to get. It took too long to reset and then run back down to dragon. So unfortunately, they didn't have position to safely contest that dragon. You saw J-Bob hit a massive Scion knock-up. He hits up 4 people, which was crazy. If his team was a little faster to respawn, they probably could have just wiped them right then and there. I get why they stayed on the dragon, get an easy soul point because he zoned them so well. Caridian was split. He's using the Baron to an advantage of pushing down towers with Tristan's innate wave push and just ability to take down structures. I feel like at that point, based on where your team is sitting, I don't know why you're face checking 4v5 with zero vision when you're so far away from the dragon. I just feel like at that point you either just need to run in and 5v5 team fight, or you need to commit to split pushing down to get the inhibitor down and then slowing the team from getting on them. J-Bob with a little engage here on the droid on the bot side.
Yeah, it does land a little bit of damage there, but George is doing just fine. We'll take a little bit of a chunk there now as Fruge will be ulted. Is very, very low HP, but has his own ult, does not get over the wall just in time. Actually, Tony gets traded back now, so a little bit of a nice team fight, but we do have Joy getting queued there again by the Scion, so one pickup is good for them, but, you know, if there's any consolation, the soul of Chemtech is not the best, so, you know, maybe they were willing to give that up, but now they're just trying to skirmish around this bot lane tier 2. We should see someone hopefully going to pick up the mid lane. There is still Baron buff. Actually, Baron buff did wear out, so I'm just going to kind of walk away now. Happy maybe with their pick on there to Tony, but, you know, I think for the pickle packages, after just having that Baron fight won, you've got a little bit more of gold in your pocket. I think I would have liked to see them have a little bit more pressure, a little bit more confidence there into the river, and not try to give, you know, let them just basically have a free, you know, Chemtech soul when I think they were a little bit stronger, and really, again, all of this gold, even before that fight, was onto Blood. Just have your 80 carries focus onto Blood. You know, Jazz just looks for that. Maybe just Feast to even get them lower. And then, you know, I think that would have been a one fight for them, especially considering not the perfect positioning just yet. But maybe got a little bit scared. Maybe just wanted to try to push down the mid lane. But, you know, trading a tier 2 for a Dragon Soul, not sure if that's worth in the end. But fortunately, still a slight gold lead here for the pickle packages, as now we have the side of Control to lead coming through. Joy will be ulted and will be taken down. That is a big pickup, taking down the 80 carry, and now they're going for the push there onto the mid lane inhibitor. Tower is under fire. Will be taken down with that great proc, as now there's only going to be so much damage here. Caridian trying to do his best, can't walk up too far, has to be careful for Blood ulting onto him. We do have Tony's ultimate still down, so they can't really do much, as there's just going to be some face checking. Great little Azir charge. Caridian has to flash out, actually so low from the burn there from Blood, as they're still just pressuring them. Blood just goes in, blows up Fruge, and now he does have the stopwatch. Great engage there from Tony, as now Sirerin comes through there onto Music. Is tanky, but might not be tanky enough, as Blood just blows up Swiss Army Knife, and that will be another kill going over to him. Triple coming through, and this just might be the end of the game here.
Yeah, Blood having a massive pop-off. You see when these fights are not like in a straight 5v5 ARAM scenario where these Kraken Slayer 80 double 80 carries can't just burn down and melt through an extended comp or a fight. Oh my gosh, Tony gets blown up, but I still think they have the end angle here pretty easily.
Yeah, Caridian can unfortunately only do so much. Tries to kill Blood before he dies, but he cannot. That will be a 14-1-3. Cassian does not get 16, but doesn't need it, as that will be game 1 going over to control out the lead.
Yeah, good job from them. The fights went so much better for them once they stopped doing this 5v5 ARAM face check part. Once they started making picks and Blood was on the flanks just to kind of get around and jump in and out of fights, it went so much better for them. Good job with the early objective control. The early dragon stacking is just so valuable nowadays. It puts you in such a safety net to give up a little bit of map pressure and objective bonus later if for some reason you feel like you're not in a favorable state. So good props to Tony. Even though Blood had an absolutely killer KDA at the end of the game, and he was able to withstand a really bad mid lane matchup, Tony really set the map up for a good scaling into the mid game opportunity with how he played. So good job from them. It's a cleaner game than they've had. You saw like little hints of them kind of like overextending at times. You could kind of see where those tendencies of some of those players who just like to get in your face and play. You saw those tendencies still come through. Unfortunately, Pickled Packages wasn't able to capitalize enough on some of those opportunities. Let's see how they switch up the draft, and let's see how they play in this next game.
Yeah, and I think really above all just came down to a little bit of a difference kind of in the understanding of macro, right? I think the pickle packages, you know, tried their best, and I think they had a lot of moments in which they had the lead, they could have capitalized, but just maybe a lack of understanding of where the gold was, kind of where the power of their composition was. Kind of just let them slowly bleed out some of that game. And I think really great credit to Blood, who definitely popped off and definitely I think carried that game for them to be able to get through. I think that definitely gives them that strong momentum. But the damage charts were pretty close. Like I think a lot of these players played well, and that was a very close game to the very end. With Joy being picked up, and then there's just not that much damage coming through. But we will be throwing to a break as we will be awaiting for game number 2. So stick around; you won't want to miss it. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tilt Champions League. Unfortunately, this is not Super Mario Sunshine. Great game, by the way. But we are back here heading into Game 2 between the Pickle Packages and Control-Alt-Delete, where we saw Control-Alt-Delete take a great Game number 1 win due to the heroics of Bloodbath and Beyond's Cassidon. But heading into Game number 2, here, Sandy, what kind of adaptation do you want to see from the Pickle Package?
Well, I think I liked the idea of having like lanes that could get prio into the bot side early, but some of the fights that they took around the mid game just felt a little awkward. But I still feel like the way they played, it still felt winnable, even though you saw Cassidy with only one death and 14, 15, whatever, however many kills he had. It still felt like they had a chance at winning. Um, it just felt like the skirmishes felt very uncomfortable for their comp. In terms of change, I don't really know what Pickled Packages has up their sleeve to do for Blood's team. I think you run a comp that is skirmish heavy. Again, whether it's a scaling skirmishy comp, if it's a mid game, early game skirmishy comp, they just seemed a little bit more comfortable when things don't have to be crazy structured. If that makes sense, they just seem to play a little bit better. They seem more comfortable.
Yeah, and I think I definitely agree. I don't think there needs to be much adaptation on the side of Control Alt Delete. I think they had a pretty strong team funding, kind of easy to execute comp, and picking something similar is going to probably give them a lot of success in number 2. But I think there was a great silver lining to how this game went for the pick packages, because even though there might not have been the cleanest macro or kind of the cleanest team play overall, the game was still very, very close. There were some great plays there by Korean, Crochet doing a pretty good job, and Joy was picking up some important kills. But I don't think they need to do too many crazy things, right? Looking back at the damage charts, that Azir did not really have any impact. There wasn't really some clean ultimates coming through. Maybe we really only got one, but it never really resulted into anything. But all that being said, they had the push, they had the prio in the bot lane, and they had the first tower. So I think if the Pickle Packages just picks a solid, normal composition, I think that with how they play, with how they kind of, slowly got the advantage, just based off of CSing and based off some other factors, I think they can just win this game off of just, having maybe slightly better players in each lane. But if they pick something unique again, I don't know if they should, throw the dice and see if they can, get Snake Eyes.
One thing, looking back on the draft, I'm not sure if Swiss plays it. I feel like he probably can. He seems to have a pretty deep champion pool. I think Heimerdinger just would have done everything they wanted in that bot lane versus Azir. Like, I think it would have done everything they wanted plus more. It has way more damage. It's a little bit safer to play. It has good poke. You can push the waves like crazy. Um, the Azir just felt like it was to push the early wave with his W and then hope he can get a good shuffle, but you just never really had gold to back up the play. It always felt like he would die if he did any of that as the game went on. So I guess you could try running something similar, just throwing a Heimerdinger down there instead. Another Rumble Band going at Fruge here. They really respecting that pick. I think Ezreal going into Control's a super good ban. Control's a solid mid laner. Mid laners that tend to flex down to bot lane as their secondary role, or if they're off rolling to it, tend to go caster 80 carries. So Varus, Caitlyn, Lucian is another one that's not necessarily a caster 80 carry, but kind of the same idea. I think it's good to ban that. It's something that I think would be really scary, and I want to give compliments to Control because I think he's had quiet carry games and performances that maybe go under the radar. He's like super solid on 80 carry. I still really think he's arguably best. He doesn't really seem to make too many mistakes. He seems to stand where he needs to stand. He gets kills when he needs to get kills. His farm's always consistent. So, man, if I'm Blood's team, even though Blood just had a pop off game, I still would just try to play around bot side and give them uh, like a good setup for success because I think Control's really scary on 80 carry.
Yeah, and I think they definitely, got themselves back into the game at kind of being a little bit on the back foot, just slightly. And obviously, we saw a lot of damage that coming out with Control when they just, really played just, solid front to back. Um, I think draft though is definitely just very important for both teams, since I think the way that they drafted kind of wasn't the best with just the timing of what lanes went where. I don't think it really makes sense for either team to draft top lane round 1 when
Yeah.
I think bot lane's a big priority as well as mid and jungle. And if we had seen a support pick coming through for the side of the pickle packages, I think that, or I'm sorry, if there was a support pick coming through, maybe, yeah, for the pickle packages, I think we could have maybe seen a little bit of a stronger composition, not maybe, going for this crazy pocket pick. But at least for running out the bands here, we've got the Rumble again, we've got the Seraphine again, big takeaways. But also they're taking away the Gragas this time, so didn't really like what they saw there onto Tony in the Jungle. And we've got the J4 again, as well as the Zaya this time, still targeting control. But Annie will be the first pick there, most likely going on to the mid lane, could also be a support pick. I might guess that's going into the middle lane, but Mordekaiser and a Jinx hover might be the response here, and I'm definitely liking how these comps are turning out.
It's interesting. Tony actually banned the Gragas, even though they played it. So they were really afraid that Frugier was just going to pick it up and maybe have a repeat performance. So I actually didn't catch that at first either. They flopped the ban on that. So a little interesting on that. And then you said something interesting about not picking the top laners like early, which I totally agree with. But sometimes I've noticed in TCL what happens is instead of like picking your early things to either deny a strong pick or a fringe pick from the enemy team, it feels like a lot of people don't take it as a power pick. They usually just kind of fill out their draft to give one of their best players a counter pick, if that makes sense. So even if that means not getting desirable things right away, sometimes that's just how TCL sets up, just because sometimes you just have like this overwhelming force of a player that's on your team and you want them to match in well to someone else who could be an overwhelming force. So I think that's sometimes how the drafts shape up. Annie kind of received some nerfs recently. I believe her shield damage and the shielding amount is down, but I still think the pick is really good. She has really long auto attack range. You can really harass other mid laners. Um, and her burst damage with electrocute at basically any point of the game actually feels super overwhelming. And then once you get like Rylai's, Tibbers with a shield can just like slow you like infinitely, and then it just feels really hard to get away. I like the Annie pick. Talon mid, I think, is the only other player who's picked it up, and he's had hit or miss success. I think he's probably 50% win rate, somewhere around there. But the games that he's won, it's looked so oppressive. Funny enough, I'm pretty sure they smacked Blood's team with it. I think they 2-0'd them with Annie mid, so maybe Caridian is taking a little inspiration from Talon mid and his performance there.
Yeah, I think definitely to the point that you made, right? I think especially considering, how the top tank gameplay of TCL, easy to just, pick two tanks that do well, and then like you said, you save the counter pick for maybe, the carry members, right? But I do really, I think, much more prefer the draft so far for Control Alt Delete. I think the Annie was a good start, but the Malphite was a little interesting for me just because of, I think obviously, having a flash arm Malphite there onto the Jinx is great, but picking that potentially into a Mordekaiser, not the easiest lane to play. But obviously, bans coming through for the rest of phase 2. Viego taken away there from Frugier again. We've actually got the Cassiopeia taken away there from Caridian with the bans not coming in through Blood, with the Vladimir, and of course, they don't want to see that casting again. But Kindred will be the jungle lock in here for Tony.
Yeah, I remember Tony playing Kindred quite a bit. Like anytime we would duo queue together last season when we played, he's super good at it. He paths well. He plays super in your face. He's going to be aggressive early. I agree with the Malphite pick. I get what he's trying to do. It's just backlight access. You can really
Really?
stack with any. Oh, Jace. Okay.
Jace.
Whew, this could be any support.
Yeah, and
Assuming it is.
I think it is because Jace is definitely one of music specialties, and he definitely doesn't get to play it that much. So maybe he wants to feels confident going into the Mordekaiser there, which means that we will see Caridian playing Malphite mid. So if Blood's got Silas, this is a great Silas game, and I would be very curious to see how this competition does run itself out. As Swiss actually will lock in the Ari, so that might be this is a really weird comp. Is this a Malphite jungle or RA jungle? I'm not really sure who's playing jungle for Frugier.
I think it's is Malphite. I'm not a Malphite expert, but on paper, if you don't get pressured early, I could actually see it being okay of a clear. Like Malphite's W and E can clear waves pretty well. Okay, I guess you can still flex champions. Kind of. Your jungle is pretty much locked in. Now that you have Silenced, there are 3 good ults to take. Oh, I really think you should try just to throw the Jace mid lane. Jace, really hard for him to play. Ari's a little less favorable. I know that Ari kind of feels like she has to go mid lane, but I guess if there's a way you could have maybe made it work, you could really put Blood behind. But interesting draft. They have a ton of dive. Um, they can really get onto the back line with a shock blast. Malphite Ring in, Ari dashing in, and he's gonna have Flash R. Kaisa can dash to the back line. They are really trying to be like heat-seeking missiles to Jinx and Kindred. I like the idea, but timing is going to have to be key because if like you're not stacking all of this dive from like good flank angles or all at once, the Mordekaiser could isolate someone else out. Silas could pick up one of the ults and try to do a counter, but then also you just have the Kindred R and a Lulu R to protect the carries. This could get this could get dodgy. I also am kind of afraid on Blood on Silas because he actually ended up getting a favorable matchup because Annie can beat Silas, Jace beats Silas pretty hard. Ari is not great into Silas once level 6 hits because Ari just doesn't do as good of a job with her R that Silas can do. So Blood actually managed to get a favorable mid lane here, even though he does have, and he still has like good ults to steal.
Yeah, yeah, and I think definitely, they still have the option if they want to lane swap, right? Music definitely the better Jace player, so if they wanted to throw him for that favorable matchup into the Silas, they could do that. Now, personally, I don't expect that to happen, but I think this game number 2 is kind of similar to game number 1, where the composition from the side of the pickle packages is a little bit, again, feast or famine. Like, I think the ease of this team fight from Control Alt Delete and also the abilities of what these champions have is literally a perfect counter, right? Again, not really the same amount of engage. They've got Malphite R, and that's like okay engage, but the follow up with the Ari, I guess cuts it diving in. You got the Annie stun, but I think that the big thing here, they got Kindred ult, right? As soon as Malphite goes for something, throw in that Kindred ult, and then you've got Silas taking away the Malphite ult. As soon as that Kindred ult goes away, ult back. Hopefully, Jinx is out of the fight with the Lulu to be able to just dive the backline. One of the guys will take out that priority member, and then you've just got the damage coming in through Kindred and through Silas. So I think again, this is another game of just much easier execution from the side of Control Alt Delete, and I think there's a lot of fun picks that we can see on the pickle packages. Seeing the Jace top, we get to see Malphite jungle, which I don't really know if that's good, but I just feel like that composition is just so much more difficult to work, and it's so much like it has to work perfectly or else it doesn't work. If the Malphite doesn't get like a good 3-man, if Ari can't land a good charm, and if Annie can't follow up with a good Tibber stun, then their whole entire composition just doesn't have the damage. They just get dove and run down by Jinx, by Silas, Kindred, throwing in the damage, and Lulu just perma shooting them in the back. So I'm a little hesitant again about this composition, but I think I am respectable for the confidence of some of these picks.
Yeah, it's all about timing and angles. I think if you ARAM it, it's going to be too predictable for Control Alt Delete to adjust to how Pickled Package would play a fight. You have to come at angles. You're going to need sweepers, you're going to need pink wards, because if you come at angles, it gets way harder for people to react. You're going to feel a little scattered. It's going to be hard to coordinate where you need to back up to use the Kindred R, who should Lulu R, when should she R. But again, if like you're 5v5 ARM style and you're just trying to dive with an Annie flash with a Malphite R, Kaisa and Ari diving in with their Rs, and then J Shock Blast, like it sounds on paper believable, but at the same time, I could totally seeing it getting scuffed.
Yeah. And like I was saying, I see the vision, right? I see how this can work out. I see how they can definitely do it. Feels like the success percentage and the win of opportunity so much smaller than the opportunity for Control Alt Delete. But I think there's a lot of surprises that I saw from their side. I think Korean definitely got himself back. I think Fruge obviously saw a jungler, and I think Joy just always been consistent. So if they
Mhm.
just got a little bit of a I think much more normal bot lane, I would say this time. I think they can definitely maybe take some of that priority again against
Yeah,
Control and Reform Bully. But I think it's definitely just gonna be a tale of, can they get ahead early? Can they do some of these important things? And once we get to the team fights, how do they actually play them? That's what matters the most.
yeah. I'm excited. I hope this can has a chance to go to a third game because Pickled Package has so many good players on their team. The synergy has just felt off at times. You would like to see them bounce back because all 5 of them are super good, and on paper, I feel like a lot of people probably had them ranked pretty high. Um, Again, kinda like you guys said, it kinda jumped into a awkward potentially awkward 5v5 comp to fight, Control Alt Delete, which I don't know, anytime I go against Blood and play with Tony, they kinda Silas already loves scrappy team fights. That's where he thrives, and I think Blood is also that kind of player. So I feel like it could get a little dodgy for him.
Yeah, and I definitely, from someone who's played against Blood a lot of times, he definitely likes, likes to fight, likes to build those adventures, likes to kind of, be scrappy. Then it definitely, I think, describes Blood very, very well. On this Silas, when he does have some great ults that he can take away, and he can kind of shine. I think we could see, we can see some of that agency, see some of that star power, which I think is what's exciting about this game. We can see some of that individual prowess.
Yeah,
Top lane. I mean, Korean could, get some nice little angles there. Some nice RE charms. You could see some great flash stuns for Tibbers. If you got the solid ganks, I think it's definitely going to be a little bit of a harder game here for Fruge. Malphite just doesn't seem like he has the movement that he needs. But, he gets those flash ults, kind of runs bot and just, we see the CC stack. Like I said, the vision is there. The opportunity is there. But I think I've got my faith in Control Delete to take the to
yeah, I think I agree. And one thing too with this, I don't know much about Malphite Jungle. Oh, looks like we had a first blood go over while we were waiting for the stream to load. I'm curious to see who that went on to.
Yeah, looks like they had
Oh,
a top lane play, I think. So J-Bob must have maybe been sitting in the top bush. He
yeah.
had Korean go for probably a flash charm because his flash is down.
Hmm.
So actually that's a really good start. Now I don't know if you would want that kill going on to Fruge, but picking up that first blood definitely, I mean, is a good start for them to be able to look to take this game number 2.
It's interesting. He went Predator as well. I guess I don't know what I expected. Maybe Dark Harvest, but he's apparently looking to make some ganks happen. I feel like it's probably pretty good for his clear and his ganking potential now that he's got the first kill. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm really curious to see where this goes. I also feel like Malphite's super vulnerable to Kindred. If he ever is caught with his Q down, so when he throws the rock and steals some movement speed, I feel like he could totally just get ran down and killed by Kindred super easily. So I hope his pathing is set up to try to avoid her, because I feel like for until you get level 6, you totally are in a spot that you could just easily die. I'm super happy Music picked this Jace into Mordekaiser. It's a Jace favored matchup for the most part. There's actually a lot of Mord matchups that are actually favored for the other champion that aren't Mord. The problem with Mord is he's basically just a big stat check. Most of his abilities are relatively easy to dodge if you play it right. Um, I don't know. His abilities are they're just simple and they're easy to outplay for some of the newer champions. But his stats and then his passive just give him so much compared to other champions that if you're not dodging things, you're not harassing him at right times, it gets a little awkward. Oh, whoa, look at that little mid lane play here.
Yeah, and there's a trade back and forth. So we have Fruge, I think, getting that first blood onto Tony, and then we've got Bloodbath and Beyond trading it right back. So it is another brawl in the jungle. Tony trying to do the same kind of early gangs, and Fruge with this early lead. I think I definitely love the Predator. I think it definitely gives him that extra little bit of move speed that he needs, and being able to get run down, and then get ulted is definitely a very, very scary thing when he gets to level 6. But fortunately, for the side of Control Alt Delete, that is double buffs onto Blood. So Korean's going to have a little bit of a rough time waiting for those buffs to go away. A little bit of a buff transfer complete here, but we do have a little bit of a slight advantage here for Control and Reform Bully in their 2v2. We see a little bit of that gold lead building as the wave is actually being frozen by them. Blood going to look for this cancel. Does get it. Actually, great charm there from Korean. We'll do some damage and get Blood to almost equal HP as Tony is now back, walking down to get his first mark. So that's going to be getting him off to a pretty decent start. Fruge, though, is winging the winds. Korean's going to be looking for this charm. Does not have flash though, and Blood will have the dash away. So will be a little bit of a all or nothing play. Tony does pick up that mark, and now he's going for potentially the invade or potentially a little bit of a dive here too with how the wave was going.
Yeah, I'm curious if he goes for it. I think he's probably just looking for camps. It's a weird dive just because there's not a ton of CC to lock someone down. I think this would go pretty bad for them. Let's see, I don't play jungle or bot lane very often, so I could be assessing that wrong. That mid lane got really scary for Critty without having his flash up and then having those double buffs on Sylas. It makes that lane really hard for Ahri because she really only wins that is if she holds charm to when Sylas dashes onto her. So if he ever trades too aggressively and throws a couple spells out that he shouldn't throw out, he really could get jumped on. Luckily for him, Critty had really good wave manipulation there. So basically the wave is just frozen outside of his tower, and since Tony didn't have a chance to come up and reset it right away, it gave Critty a safe way to continue to lane without having to use his TP right away. Oh, this is going to be a little 2v2 here.
Yeah,
and
Fruge and Critty.
Ahri has no mana.
Yeah, Ahri is very, very low on mana, so can only really just throw out some autos, and Fruge did pop the Predator to get there, but Blood's going to be doing some damage. TP will be coming through from Music to try to help out, but that TP is a little bit too late, and he was never going to have, I think, any impact into that fight. They were just too far away from the tower. They needed to have actually been actively diving Critty in front. I think that TP to have worked out, so gives J-Bob a little bit of some, free push here. Get out of the tower, maybe look for a little bit of a plate, since Jace will have to walk back to top lane, but a little bit of a sus play overall. At the very least, I guess they do push it back, but actually Fruge just walks in, kills Tony. Blood will be here, level 5 to level 5, so not in time.
Ooh.
We'll actually miss those chains, so Fruge should be able to walk it out. Just needs to get a little bit Q on the wave. And with Ahri returning, that is actually very, very nice. Fruge, 100% KP onto him, and this is actually going to be a very, very tanky and very, very scary Malphite.
Yeah, I love it. I love that Fruge's doing all these things on the map, and he's off to such a good start because I'm curious to see how this Malphite jungle works. This actually probably isn't a great assessment how Malphite jungle works because you probably don't have 3 kills at 6 minutes, so he's probably going to speed through all the awkward parts of Malphite jungle. Now he's just going to be a strong Malphite, which is fine. Good for him. I guess I'm just not going to see how it normally plays out. Blood had 2 really uncharacteristic mistakes there. Let's see if Tony can interrupt this back.
When he does, he will at least push them back. Swiss Army Encampment is holding onto that stun. We'll be able to get that onto Tony. So without any of the Jinx damage there, Jinx was rotating back from her reset. A little bit of a tough dive, maybe just trying to stall her back. So not the worst thing. As Tony will now pick up that Skeller Crab, maybe even looking to pick up the Dragon afterwards with Blood rotating down and the bot lane rotating up. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Level 5 there onto Tony. I think he actually did maybe get a mark there just in time. Actually does have Jazz music marked in the top lane. So this will be the Cloud Dragon going over to them with almost the entire team coming off their reset for the Pickle package.
Yeah, that stopping the back by Tony was good. Didn't really matter if they got a kill or not. They probably never were because Droid and Swiss had full sums up. But it kind of stalled the tempo for their the tempo they had on the map. So it gave complete control to push out and get the wave in a spot where he can still get all the farm and XP and then roam up and help his jungler get that dragon there. Those mid lane skirmishes were so weird. Unfortunately, Blood had missed a couple chains to gap close at both the Raptor fights onto the Malphite and Ahri. Uncharacteristic from him because he usually is so good at hitting those type of skill shots in those skirmishes. It really could have blown up in their face, but good job for Fruge to capitalize and know to invade Kindred there. Getting another kill onto himself, 3 kills.
Interesting little play here to comment on. I guess I maybe saw the resets, but Droid was holding that wave to freeze it, but then just changed his mind. So a little bit weird there. Kind of took some free damage when I think he could have just had Annie hold that with the field, or at least just kind of bait the minions into the bush. But
Well, I guess here's the reason you want to drive. You want to dive. I think that's why.
A little bit of a hard dive to do. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Fruge was there to not see that. Great ultimate there from Fruge. Ult from Droid to be able to pick up that kill from Control. Form Bully should be just fine. Can't really do much with this wave dying, but Fruge and Swiss Army Encampment actually going to be going in for more. Level 6 up from Reform Bully. Just needs to pop the ultimate. Does get the knock up there onto Fruge. Damage can't come through, so he will live, but Very, very well coordinated dive. 100% KP stays consistent, but at least in response, we do have Control Alt Delete here on the Rift Herald. There will be 3 members here. Jazz cannot do anything, just needs to return to top lane. So we'll have to see where they end up throwing this Rift Herald, but a little bit of at least good from both junglers to keep trading back and forth. And now we really do see this bot lane of Jordan Switch on Cannon starting to take off.
Yeah, good job at noticing that Droid just completely decided to hard shove the wave when it was actually in a weird spot for control. But then we quickly just saw that Fruges wanted to dive that. He knew that they had just reset. He wants to get a kill into Jinx before he gets under the tower. They all use R's to get onto him. That was a super heads up play just based on how the map was shaping up. Little gank here onto Music. He's got flash. Tony has 6. Let's see how this plays out.
And he has the damage too, but I was waiting for that Kindred to come through, and then all you need to do is have the J-Bob ultimate over the top. J-Bob does get it, but actually Music does trade him back. And I'm surprised that Fruge is not just going for that kill. He's got more HP, and I think he's going to have, a little bit more damage with his items. So would have liked to see him actually be a little more confident just knowing that. But I think very, very good job for Music to get one there and be able to get out. But definitely, more advantages being built here. Only about a 1.5k gold lead, though, at this point. Dragon still in favor of Control Alt Delete, so a little bit of a relatively even mid game, but I think I'm definitely liking to see a lot more activity here from TPP.
Yeah, so do I. Good job for Music too, knowing that he had a good kill angle onto Kindred there. Tony definitely played a little aggressive after Jace had flashed away, and he kind of stepped out with like sub 100 HP. Like Jace just does so much damage, especially because he had full Conqueror stacks on there from the runes. Someone was probably going to die, and I feel like it was always going to be a 1-for-1 there. Tony, I guess, was just willing to take the death there. I like this bot lane setup. I'm really happy that they made that dive because it puts this Kai'Sa in such a good position to actually carry this game. I played quite a few games with Droid as my bot laner in like flex queue and solo queue games, and he really can pop off in these late game team fights with Kai'Sa. So he's in a good state. Slight CS lead. The waves have been in a good spot for him. He's got good XP. He's slightly ahead in control currently. This next dragon that's going to be coming up in a few minutes, I would like them to try to use this early lead to at least get a dragon back in their favor, just because they weren't able to make an objective play on the opposite side of the map after they made the dive. I would like them to try to set up bot prio here, because they totally have it. They are in a favorable position here because they have sums over the bot lane of control as well.
Yeah, and we did see the production hover over the marks from Kindred. There is 4, so we do see that range buff coming through, which is very, very nice. As we did call out the mark onto Jazz Music earlier, so does get his 4 stack from that. So good job, I think, for him to get 4 at this point in the game. Love to see how he continues to try to get more, but going for a little bit of a alcove gameplay here, as there actually are 3 in response, so it could be a back and forth. They will have vision on that, so we will have the reset coming out. Just maybe trying to get a little bit of a bait play here, but with the dragon spawning, everyone is kind of hanging out around the dragon. We do have some resets coming through. Tony will be off his reset, walking down. Actually, J-Bob is TPing top, so looks like they might be considering just giving up this dragon based on the positioning, based on, having that vision there on top of the Skull Crab vision. So Music will be off his actually just get canceled from his reset, so J-Bob doesn't do too much, but Blood is looking. Does not lend the chains there onto Droid, and we now have a Swiss Army kind of flash. Doesn't get anything. Oh, God, that was tough to watch. But at least they do have Annie, Tibbers to zone a little bit as they're trying to do the damage. Not really enough coming through. We do have the ultimate there. That is a big ult. Great engage there, but there's a great response for the Kindred ultimate. Lots of low HP bars. Fruge now going to be taking down Bloodbath and beyond, but the HP bars are getting very, very low. Tony just doing the damage. Shut down on the Jinx. Double kill for Fruge. Double kill for Tony as, just a wide Jinx ultimate. But that will be the dragon going over to Control Alt Delete, and from what looked like a tough fight, now top lane, we do have J-Bob getting Jazz trapped in the ultimate. Just needs one more Q and he will die. Doesn't even need to. That is a solo bolo, and this is a great response with the Gold League now dead even for both of these teams.
Oh, man, the top lane is so unfortunate because I feel like Music actually played the early game pretty well. Slight CS lead. He definitely put the pressure on the Mordekaiser. He just got out-stat checked there at the end, unfortunately. Just got caught in the weird spots. That dragon fight was so unfortunate. Swiss just kind of pulled the trigger a little too late onto that. Blood had stepped up so close to that dragon, and his bot lane was actually quite a few steps behind, near kind of like the blue buff area entrance to the river for their side. He was actually so far up. I'm surprised Malphite didn't R him. Kaisa didn't just like run straight at him in Q, because he was like almost half health. There was totally a world they just jump on Blood right away, but instead they let him walk away, and then he walks back up, and then unfortunately Swiss Army Cabinet's not able to get his ult down onto him. Blood's able to get away in time, and then Blood steals Malphite ult. They have Kindred R just to kind of create time. Once that goes down, Blood sacrifices himself, makes a big scene with that R, just trying to stay alive for a little bit, and then the rest of his team can just completely clean up and then pick up that dragon. It kind of just it's so unfortunate for Pickled Packages, because their tempo there was just a few seconds off, and we kind of talked about it. You need to kind of pull the trigger, and you all need to be ready and on the same page for it, because like you totally saw the angle where that could have worked out for them. They had good setup, but then all of a sudden everyone was like 1 or 2 seconds like off of each other's timers that they needed to be on, and it just absolutely went disastrous for them.
Yeah, but there's definitely still a great lead on there to Fruge. They've definitely got some good engages when they've all been on target, and the bot lane's doing very, very well. Joy just 1-0-2, only a slight CS disadvantage, but the item difference is basically dead even. So I think they've definitely got a lot of priority heading into this game. We can see the gold now. Thank you, production. It's basically even across the board. I mean, funnily enough, Tony has more gold right now than Fruge, and Fruge's got almost 4 kills on him. So, again, coming in the top lane, a lot of damage coming through. Flash back in response. Tony actually does not get that last one. Didn't have ultimate to continue that dive, so will unfortunately burn his flash, but will force Music's flash. But now we do have the response gank. We did have the Predator being popped there by Fruge, but under tower and safe means that they can only just back them up. So, there's, I think, again, definitely some great attempts coming through. We do have them now starting up the Rift Herald. Caridian trying to hold this bot lane tower. And Blood is sitting around here. There is a little bit of a chance for a 3v3 here, as we do have the Kaisa sitting down mid lane, but J-Bob does not land that E. Blood does go in there onto Fruge. Flash away means that now the Control-Alt-Delete team has the river priority, but Droid here now is only level 9, actually fully walking up to J-Bob like he's so strong, but looks like they're just going to have a little bit of a skirmish. We do have the anti-ultimate there, just trying to do some damage. Forces J-Bob to flash. The Rift Shell will now be resetting, healing up to all this HP. A little bit of an unfortunate spacing there, but the Jinx ultimate does land. Doesn't really do that much damage onto the side of the Pickled Packages, as now Blood and his squad is just waiting a time. Ooh, Fruge, great engage there. Damage coming through from Music does take down that with the help of Droid. Blood will trade back onto Swiss Army. J-Bob just goes for the ult there onto Fruge, but actually just walks out as Blood will actually just get traded right back. So a little bit of a weird kind of play that I think J-Bob could have just gone for the kill. He's 2 levels up and has a lot more damage than he needs, but he's going to be trying to get run down there. Fruge doing some damage. E will push him back, as also, meanwhile, the bot lane of Control-Alt-Delete will just be pushing bot lane. 2 towers going down. Now they will be on their reset. Rift Herald going over to the Pickled Packages. So actually not done. Garidian trying to go for the kill. Does not continue on. Doesn't really have any more abilities after that. So J-Bob, again, just getting, fortunately, able to walk out of these positions. Very crazy and long extending skirmishes, but in the very end, I believe this does go somehow into the favor, based on the goal lead of Control-Delete, even though they were the ones who got killed there.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because that second Rift Herald, just its value is so much lower because there's no plates on the map, and then by the time the plates fall, it's usually easier to bust down turrets anyway. So you feel like you're always going to get the outer turret gold anyway. So the second Rift Herald's priority is so much lower. They put Pickled Package put so much priority into getting it. They committed all 5 people up. They totally just sacked the bot wave and they said, dude, let's fight them here. Let's get this Herald and let's do something with it. It was a 3v5. It was weird how far up Control-Alt-Delete played. I bet they were trying just to keep them occupied, because Control is able to take 2 entire towers and collect all the waves and XP from that. They stepped a little bit too far forward, but even though 2 people ended up dying out of that and they lost Herald, I still totally take that trade any day. That bot side of the map is completely in their favor now. Good setup here, though. This is a good setup from Pickled Package. They have so many Rs that they can stack onto people. Let's see if the timing is right.
Yeah, and I think that was a good job for them to have some solid macro to throw down that Rift Herald, force the members to respond to that, but unfortunately they might be trading up their mid lane tower for that, as the Dragon will be going back over to the Pickle packages, so they stop the soul stacking from the side of Control-Alt-Delete, especially considering this a Ocean Soul, so nice little powerful one, but they will trade that mid lane tower. J-Bob should be able to get this top lane tower, especially with the support there of Tony, so towers can trade back and forth. Gold will kind of be staying at the same level as it is 3k in favor of Control-Alt-Delete, I think just based off of some of the farm. We've got a little bit of a bounty there onto J-Bob, so I think a lot of times I say this in a lot of TCL games, there's just some execution errors happening when, both teams have had a little bit on the back foot. I think definitely you had Fruge, just solid rotation, solid map awareness to be able to get those early kills, but a little bit of some misexecution and some mistimings that forces now Blood again, another missed change. Could have been a kill there if he got that. But yeah, I think just a little bit of a maybe mistiming, a little bit of maybe miscommunication off the side of the Pickle packages to get these kind of, lost fights that seem good for them. But, only a 3k gold deficit when there's a lot of towers still standing for them, so a lot of free gold to pick up. Curidian won't be able to get this tower in time. Nice little charm there, does a little bit of damage, but might actually just have to back up.
Yeah, the thing that was good that they got that Ocean Dragon, like you had mentioned earlier, they stopped the stacking, which is always good. You never want to give it over any dragons, but sometimes you just kind of have to, unless you're Swordmaster. That guy never sees a dragon that he doesn't want to try to take, which is kind of funny. Let's see if Music can survive this little gank from Tony here.
I mean,
he
there's
just
just
used all his
so
spells.
much damage from Tony. I wasn't sure if he had the mark there onto the Jace, but I mean, with the item and a half there onto the Jace, and Jace, not super strong, I mean, he just got blown up and couldn't really do much there. So nice, a little awareness. And I think just the macro overall here from Control-Delete is just a lot better. You're seeing how many towers, 4-0, are in their favor. I think they're definitely just being aware that, hey, we don't need that third dragon. We have a free kind of push here to mid, opens up the map a lot more, gets a little bit more goal into these carries, as we see, a bounty now on the Jinx as well. So, like I said, I think these team compositions, so much easier to execute for Control-Alt-Delete, and we're seeing how difficult it is for them to have to be perfect, right? If you see a miss ult from the Annie, missing that CC, if Rouge is the only one going in, there really just isn't that solid of a follow-up. And now there's going to be a lot more damage here, as we do have the great flash ult there onto Control, who I will have to flash away. Joy just ult in, forces another flash there. J-Bob will just immediately ult Fruge. He might be able to take him down. There's just so much damage. Does miss that E. Very, very low, though. Does be taken down, but is in the big group of people. Bloodbath and Beyond, Wing in the Wings. Ultimate comes out there. Tony will be taking down Swiss Army Cabinet and saving J-Bob at the same time. Blood, though, on the back end, will be running down Curidian with his own stolen ultimate. One more shot there as actually the flash from Tony. Doesn't get the kill, but helps with the damage. And then Joy will just have to run away as his team dies around him. Music does at least get the consolidation. Mid lane tower, but all 5 members will be on this Baron, and boy, do they have enough damage.
Yeah, that's going to go down, and it's so unfortunate. They tried to throw everything at Control like their comp wanted. They sped Malphite up, droid R's in, and then all of a sudden, it didn't work. Like, Control lives, and even though he's low HP and has to really play from a distance, but at that point, it was too late. You had used so much of your Wombo that you were kind of looking for, and they basically all just kind of get wiped off the map. Unfortunate for that. Music is at least able to open up the mid lane just slightly with that mid turret. I don't know if bounties were actually activated when he got that, so the gold isn't as good as it could have been.
They were not,
Nice.
But great little ultimate there from Fruge. Should be able to take down Tony since he does not have any ultimate. Curidian actually here as well, so Curidian will be actually not getting the shutdown. Let's go over to Fruge, so a little bit of more gold there onto Malphite. I think I would have liked to see that go into Curidian. I think it's got a little bit more of the care potential since Malphite will only be doing so much. But I think it's also very important to note, I think the composition from the Pickle packages does succeed. They just need to know when to stop, right? They blow 2 flashes. Great. Stop going. They just keep trying to force, keep trying to go. And when they blow everything, they just have to back up and try to play slow. But I think they keep forcing, not really being aware of how the composition is supposed to succeed. And, they just basically walk into the team fight composition that Control-Alt-Delete has. But, they're still making these good plays, right? Objective bounties do come up. There is, again, so much standing goal on this map. Low towers top, low towers bot. And, they did at least stop the soul stacking, so they could try to look for this dragon. But as the team is now walking into the bot lane river, they do have that first priority. So a little bit clear on this vision. They could just decide to go on to the dragon right now. Blood is there on the bot lane, kind of looking for a potential flank. They will start up the dragon, as we do have the rotation coming through. This is a little bit of a weird position, so this could be a great fight here for the Pickled packages. Or hey, pick up that gold bounty off that. TP coming through though from J-Bob. He will be coming in right into the middle of the team. Splits them up. Jazz gets immediately ulted. And that's so much damage coming out from J-Bob. This is a really, really tough fight there. They're just all over the place. Does be able to get the flash away. Might not be able to live in the very end. Great charm there. But Fruge on the back lane. So much damage. Great Annie follow-up there. We do have the Kindred ultimate to keep them alive just for so long. Korean will be going in there. But Blood trades that back with that ultimate. Does get one. Jinx, though, now popping off with a double kill. Blood will be able to finish this off with his own double kill. Finishing off that last. That is an ace for Control-Alt-Delete. And now with the 6k gold lead, taking down that dragon onto Soul Point. They're going to be looking to push down that mid lane tower, looking for that mid lane inhibitor.
Yeah, it ends up being an absolute slaughter. It was such an awkward spot for Pickled Package to be in. They kind of got pinched from the TP from J-Bob, and then Blood was always hovering, waiting for that. Fruge is actually able to do so much damage in the back, but there's just too much time being bought with the Lulu and the Kindred that... And no one could follow him up, unfortunately, because no one wants to kind of dive in once they see the Kindred are down. So, like, even though the health bars got low, it just kind of feels awkward to commit all of what you have left onto the R until it's down. But then it just never kind of came to fruition there, and unfortunately, even though they had good initial setup on the dragon, they kind of just got pinched, and then they got kind of awkward and kind of split in where they needed to go in the fights. And Music got absolutely chunked by Mordekaiser at the beginning of that fight. That's rough. When you just get ulted by Mordekaiser, then within like the first second of being in the Delth Realm, you're absolutely chunked down. That feels so bad.
Yeah, it really does. But I think we just keep seeing more of the reality of them having like a good game plan, but they're just mis-executing, right? TP came through right in the middle, split the entire team. Frugia had a good ult. Bliss finally had, I think, a great follow-up, but there was no damage. Their AD carry and Caridian were somewhere else. They tried to run to get there, but by the time that Blood stole the ultimate back there from Fruge, they basically just ran into them. And this is a good little ultimate there back in the J-Bob. Great stun to follow up, and he actually does even flash to try to get away, but Swiss takes that down, so nice little kill back. They should be able to pick up this objective bounty. And I think if we just have the Pickle packages really just stay as 5, have a solid kind of engage together with the damage follow-up, I think these fights could swing, right? I mean, the gold wasn't that far away, but we saw the damage coming through. Korean and Fruge can do a lot of damage, and with Droid ulting on top of them, I think we see, the potential there, but we do have a pause coming through. Not maybe sure what the issue was there, but we will have a little bit of a break in all that commotion and all the excitement from this game so far.
Yeah. Good job at getting the little pick up top, and then the flash off J-Bob. It kind of slows the pace of the map down a little bit for them, so they don't have to feel as pressured. But yeah, unfortunately the game plan was very apparent. You saw what Pickled Packages wanted to do throughout the game. It's just unfortunate that the timing on some of the stuff has just been a little awkward. I want to give props to Blood. There's been like 2 or 3 team fights this game now where he's just hovered on the side of a team fight, and even if he's not like in the center flashing and hitting all these chains left and right, the fact that he's threatening an awkward position for Pickled Packages to commit to a certain way they want to fight is really good. I think a lot of mid laners, especially in TCL, I think a lot of us tend to forget this, and we kind of just go way too much into a front to back type mindset. But flanking and being out of vision during a team fight when someone still knows you're there is really hard to deal with. So that was like the 3rd fight I've seen Blood just not necessarily have to do the flashiest play or do all the damage, but he's standing in a position that makes it awkward for them to commit to a fight. So good job from him. It's really easy to do on Sylas too. Literally just the presence of Sylas on a flank can be enough to warrant you to not do what you wanted to do in the first place. Looks like Crittian's reconnected here too.
And it really does, I think, apply some really strong pressure, right? Just sometimes being somewhere is the pressure that you need. But I think, like you said, due to him, he does a very good job of finding his moment, right? He knows he just needs that one ultimate, that one engage, and I think that's that kind of mentality that I would want to see from the Pickle Packages. They wait for their moment, that one moment when the engage is locked up altogether, and that's what Blood's doing very, very well, and that's why these fights are going so much in the favor. He's winging the wings, gets that ultimate, and waits on the group. Waits for them to kind of push up and over-aggress. As soon as they do, boom. Engage happens, and that play just goes right in their favor. as you mentioned, Caridian does reconnect. We are waiting for this pause to stop. For some reason, the play has not resumed, and we are at 0 seconds. But at least talking about the state of the game right now, we've got about a 6 to 7K gold advantage here for the Control Alt Delete side. Blood and Control have a bounty as finally we get out of the pause. Jazz will be taken down very, very low. Great W for Control. Unfortunately, we do see it off screen, so we do just miss it. But Control does have a little bit great solo kill. Obviously, coming rough of a pause, a little bit tough to make sure both teams are at a good position. Caridian, though, being run down by Tony, who is getting flashback very, very shortly. Might be trying to run for this. There is really not too much that Caridian can do. Great charm. Actually, might be able to trade this one back. Oh, a little bit of a pause delay here from the side of the Observer. Great kill there from Tony. So good trades back. Builds a little bit of advantage. But Control Alt Delete, they are pushing bot lane. Bloodbath and Mion again has the Malphite ultimate. This will be a free inhibitor for them as they continue to push the gold lead, continue to push the pressure on the map. And right now, they are not stopping. There is just the rotation now over to the mid lane inhibitor that they just took down. Jorah's going to be able to do as much as he possibly can with Caridian coming off of his respawn. So it's just, I think, very, very great to see them, continuing to push these advantages, push their leads. We do have a little bit of the rundown coming through. Fruge does have flash ult, but unfortunately, they have the immediate response from just get out of dodge, get out of town, and unfortunately cannot get anything back in respawn.
Yeah, this map is absolutely wide open now. There's like almost no towers down. A little engage here in the jungle onto Blood though.
Yeah, Blood actually does get a really great engage back there into the Kindred ultimate, but low HP bars. Blood does get back out and actually just get the kill there, and they just stay alive for so long. Joy trapped on the ultimate will be falling down there to J-Bob, and there was that good moment. Actually, so much damage from Caridian. He does a really great job of getting the whole entire team there, so not sure if he can really hold in a 5v1 situation, and yeah, this might be game. Again, they tried to look for this moment. Ooh, wow, just barely missed. That would have been great to pick up that onto Control, but nice little sidestep there. Control does get the Lulu ultimate. TP coming through onto the tower. A little bit of a BM there as we do have the TP there going into the river the fountain, as that will be a great solid 2-0 from Control Alt Delete.
Yeah, I guess I feel like that fight was probably going to go exactly how it was. I guess I thought it was going to happen at Dragon or Soul Point. I guess they just wanted to commit to it a little bit earlier. They thought they saw a better angle for it, but it kind of felt like it was just an impending doom for them. The timings of fights just fortunately didn't go their way. Man, that's a big damage from that Kindred. I didn't realize how much damage he's actually doing in the fight too. But to be fair, damage graphs are actually pretty even across the board. It just felt so lopsided the second half of the game that I guess I just didn't even think that the other team would put up as much damage as they did.
Yeah, and I think really that is due to some of the poke damage, right, that we can from
True.
the pickup packages. The Ari charms and the Ari Qs. Obviously, Jace just constantly popping them, and then obviously you got the Kaisa W. So, I think they definitely kept it close. Like they definitely had their moments. But again, even at the end of the game, I think it just came down to some missed timings and missed execution. I think we just need to have Fruge be a little bit more patient to make sure all the teams around him, because Blood could have gone down there if they had that layer seed C. But, he saw, Blood with a very, very great play, ulted to Kindred to get into the bubble of his ultimate, kept himself alive with the W heals, with the, I think, Kingslayer or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And, at that point, it was just, they slapped him with their wallets. The goal was just too much. They had way too much control over the map. And I think very, very well done, right? This is a important Toll Bowl game for them to pick up their first win, and might be the momentum they need to carry them through the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Who do you think MVP is? So we could just get a little talk from one of the players.
Yeah, I
I
think you go ahead. Tell me who you think is the MVP.
I think game one, even though Blood had a pop off game on Kassadin, it's still commendable. I like Tony how he played early game, but I feel like overall to the series, Blood just had a dominant game on Kassadin, and then I like the way he played the Silas game, the second game. So I think I would throw it to Blood.
Yeah, I think I think definitely we can give some flowers to Tony, because I think Tony was a why Blood was able to play so well. I think he got a name with that. But I think definitely just with the gameplay, I think with the also moments that Blood found, and some I think he did very, very well on the Silas game number 2. I think definitely for the context of. So that being said, let's see if we can drag Blood into here. And here we go.
Oh my gosh,
Bloodbath
the
and
man of the
Beyond.
hour.
Welcome
What is
to
up?
the production studio. Congratulations on your win here, your first win for your team in the TCL. Tell me kind of about how you guys reacted to some of their drafts. Drafted a little bit strange, I would say.
Yeah, they did have definitely some strange moments. I would say you'd think the surprise in the first game for me would be the Azir support, but I mean he also put like 7 games on it in solo queue like in the past few days, so it wasn't actually that surprising. What was surprising was the Triss mid. That's why I like blind casted and I thought he was gonna go Kiana. I thought it was gonna be all good. The Triss was super annoying. Didn't actually know he was gonna play that. But
Thank
yeah,
God
then
you bought that Seeker's arm guard early because you
yeah,
almost got so a super clutch. I commented on that it was good to buy that. It slowed your mana stacking down, but it ended up
yeah. I also
saving that
went.
early game.
Yeah, you got to go the double armor and runes as well. Just
Yeah.
everything you can to survive. But then also the
Uh-huh.
game 2, the Malphite. I mean, I'm surprised they actually went for the Malphite jungle. But again, he had a game on that as match history, so it wasn't totally surprising. So yeah, I would say it was. While they did have some crazy drafts, I don't think anything caught us too off guard.
Sure, yeah, definitely. From the pickup package, definitely again, got off to a really great start, 3-1, and they had some moments in which they take the back. But what do you think really was the way that your team was able to play the?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question. You cut out a
Your
little bit.
mic's cutting out a
Oh,
little bit.
I apologize. So, what would you say is kind of the what was one of the big reasons or the big kind of factor that allowed you to take away the victory or to kind of wrestle back control of the game might have temporarily lost?
I mean, I think for starters, the first 2 weeks were absolutely moments for us to kind of figure our team out and kind of see what was working and what wasn't. I don't think we had, despite obviously we lost first 2 weeks, but I think it wasn't terrible. Like we had some good moments. We saw what worked and what didn't, and then we got some good practice in throughout the week. So that definitely helps a ton, kind of nailing down strategies and what we want to do as a team. And I think also our draft was just solid. We spent some more time on that this week as well, and that helped us kind of anticipate what they were going to do a little bit, and also kind of plan out what we were going to do. And I think everyone just played well. Of course, that always helps. So
Yeah, I think it definitely showed through, right? The overall draft from your squad was very much a little bit easier to execute than what the pulled out, but I think you guys looked very, very well. Now you got some great moments there on the cast, diving in there. Silas, I think you definitely picture moments very, very well to get those important fight ultimate. Of course, in the very, very end, ultimate to keep yourself alive.
mhm.
But that was a great first win. As we look towards the rest of the season, how do you feel your team's going to end as we think 2 or 3 more games? How many more wins do you think the team's going to pick up? Do you see yourself now as a team is developing and progressing, being able to start to contend with the squad?
I mean, obviously it's hard to say. It's just kind of guesswork, but I think, I mean, I'm glad to be playing better going into what is presumably going to be tougher matchups. I mean, obviously we've got your team is the big contender with the undefeated 3-0. I believe that's next week. So don't know for sure how that one's going to go. I mean, again, I think we're doing better. So I like that we're doing better into the probably harder matchups. But as for how many wins, I mean, I can't say. I'm not going to be another person in that is publicly going to come out and just say, "Yeah, we're going
Just
to win
say
every
0,
game."
then you look good after you get
Yeah,
one.
yeah, we're not going to win any games, and
Yeah,
if it
there you go.
happens, then it happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Good
Sandy,
answer.
any final questions here for our MVP?
No, good job today, buddy. I'm glad to see you guys turned around. Tell Tony I love him.
I will, man. He might have heard it, but I will deliver those words straight to him.
There you go. Well, again, congratulations, Blood, on your victory. Great first win to get your momentum building. And that will conclude week 3 of the TCL Season 6. So, everyone, thank you all very much for watching. Sandy, thank you for joining me on this co-cast journey. I believe the next game in TCL will be this Thursday with a rescheduled match. eye out for that one. Otherwise, everybody have a great night. Enjoy your Tuesday. See you next.